afternoon. It's day 3 on Hannover Messe. I guess everyone is a bit tired. Today we talk about a topic that's super important, but that's not on the top list of a lot of people. And we will hope to be able to convince you today that it should be. And it's about the forgotten automation engineers. So let's dive directly into the topic. First of all, what really drives automation and productivity in our factories? It's industrial controllers. It's all those computers, not in the data center, not in the cloud, but those that move robots, that move conveyor belts, and so on. And what we see is a swing now back from China, from other countries, back to the developed countries, the Western world, Europe, and the US. And we need to increase our manufacturing capability. And as I said, we have automation. Yeah? And this article from Forbes suggests that no problem, we obviously have 80 million around automation engineers, less than we would need, factory workers, less than we would need. So let's automate more. That seems logical because we have these big companies like Siemens and Rockwell and Amazon and Honeywell that make these great controllers and that brought us all the wealth that we have right now. But let's double click into that situation. Forbes suggests, again, let's automate more. Then let's look at the people that automate. These are called automation engineers. They are programmers. They normally work in the night shift and in remote areas and fly around the world. And they program those computers. And let's look at the demographics. This is American data, and what we can see is that the average is closer to 50 and only around 10% are in their 20s. So it seems that we may have a problem because we don't have the people, obviously the 80 million that produce the stuff that we need in our societies, and we seem to also not have the people that help us automate it. Let me compare that to software development in IT. This is Robin. Robin is our head of AI in our company. And he programs in modern development environment. He can do everything with hardware at his fingertips. This is the AWS console. We run completely in AWS. If he wants to spin up a new cluster of servers to do some machine learning training or change something in the UI, it takes basically maximum minutes. That's normal. That's, by the way, also what's attractive to young talent. And we want the best and brightest to help us solve the manufacturing challenge. This is the equivalent in the factories right now. What you see here is computers. They are called programmable logic controllers. They are specialized on moving robots, having real-time controls, doing I/O operations. They are from companies, you see them, Siemens, Rockwell, Omron, Bosch, Rexroth, and so on. All great products, but they are really very specific and vendor specific, meaning we had a good glimpse into what could happen if something is disrupted in the pandemic, where out of a sudden, due to the lack of chips for these specific computers, some of these PLCs had delivery times up to 180 days. But if I sell a machine and I cannot ship the machine because the controller is not available for 180 days, I might not hit my revenue target because the customer only pays for a machine that's moving. To move a machine, you need a controller. And then when we look at the software, as you've seen in Robin's desk, this is how industrial controllers are programmed. This is Windows applications. I'm pretty old. I learned computer science in the 90s. It was really cool at that time. Yeah? But now you have web applications. You can do it from your iPad, from any computer. Those Windows applications are really strong and powerful, so they take 4 minutes to load. And they also have different versions. Sometimes they are not compatible, even within the same vendor. And that leads to a very cumbersome process. And I'll have a good statement in a minute. So let's really compare where we are in the OT world, in the controller world, with what we all see here on the AWS booth in the IT world. And then if you deploy in AWS, it's a button. That's the deployment mechanism in a lot of factories. And I'm not speaking about remote factories. We know German car makers that have that deployment mechanism, like shut the factory down for 2.5 days, have people fly in, walk from controller to controller with a laptop, plug the laptop into the controller, open the Windows application, wait 4 minutes, have a cup of tea. There's still people that smoke in Germany. Go back and then hit deploy. And that takes a lot of time. 2.5 days is a couple of thousand cars. And when it comes to management of the source code, we all have Git. In IT is very clear. You do branching and merging. That's what we see in some customers before they use our system. This is the USB pen, and this is the code. This is the code of that controller. Very secure, of course, yeah? But maybe not scalable if you need to build a lot of factories in small time. But don't take my word for it. Take the word of some of our customers. Yeah, here the first quote is a mining company in the US. They basically said, we have big stone breakers of the size of this building, and the only person that knows the source code on those controllers for these big motors will retire in 3 months. We have no clue what the control routines are. The second one is a company that makes energy equipment. Because we have these different types of controller technologies that are own stacks, they have 2 different PLC programmer teams that do exactly the same. Remember the demographics of the PLC vendor, of the PLC engineers? You might have other idea to deploy that talent. And the last one is really striking, is very close to my heart, because we had a very bright student from a German university, and he literally said to us, great what you do, I just looked at that technology stack, I decided I don't want to work with that. Think of it. Given the challenge that the ramp-up of manufacturing capacity poses for our society, we do want the best and brightest. And that's the core mission of software-defined automation. Our mission is to give those heroes of the shop floor, how we call them, the best tools possible with no technical compromises, even as good or even better as what a comparable software developer in the cloud would have. So how does that look like? I now talked about what we should do. The term that comes closest in IT is DevOps. That basically means managing the software development cycle and the deployment and the operation cycle. If you look at the same thing in automation engineering, it gets very basic. Think back of the example with the mining company. You first need to understand what is actually deployed. And that's not always clear because there's different people working on the shop floor. If a car factory starts up, that's collaboration nightmare. There's a lot of machine builders, system integrators coming in. Someone flashes the PLC, flashes over there, and at some point in time it runs and then no one touches it. And then people get scared. So first of all, you need to understand what has changed at any point in time. Factories have the parameter that they are very often at remote locations, so you need to have a connectivity. Then coming with connectivity that it's built into our system, you also get, because we are in the cloud, we inherit all the fine-grained user access rights management. Gone are the days where you have the password of the PLC, which is seemed to be a very important asset because it runs your factory on a post-it note on your computer screen. That's the norm currently. And then, as I said, there is this Windows applications, and they are very powerful, and they should be used moving forward. But they have the different versions. So what we enabled is to consume them in a browser-based manner. That means you click on a file that is loaded on a PLC, and it opens this Windows application instead of 4 minutes and 12 seconds. And the file is loaded, and if you close it, it asks you, what did you change? So really eliminating the opportunity that someone does a change to the system that is not recognized, and ultimately generating a really nice version control system. And as you can see it, also really looking into the details of those files and comparing them and understanding who did what when. And the last thing is really applying generative AI to that and bringing additional value add I'll come to in a minute. This is how a shop floor looks like in our system. Remember the different PLCs? These are all different PLCs from different vendors. They all look the same. They all have the same buttons. As in AWS, an EC2 instance, even if a chipset from Intel, from NVIDIA, or from AWS's own chip factory. They all are managed the same. You can automate everything. It's exactly the same concept. Here, version control. PLCs are not only programmed in structured text or in textual languages. Very often electricians do it. It's in modern days we would call it low code. Here it's called graphic languages. You need to render the differences. You need to make it very simple. If there is a learning curve, people that are stressed in a night shift will not adopt the system. And this is what we build our system for. And let's not forget about the use cases that generative AI provides. This is a simple use case that we see a lot, where automation engineers say, hey, there is this machine and it was sold to us by a machine builder at a good price, but it uses a different type of PLC technology and it's not the same programming languages, and we don't know what's happening. We have a couple of these customers. And then people start clicking through line by line for hours, for days. Again, is this the most productive way to spend the precious time of an automation engineer? We are very happy to announce that we have a generative AI auto documentation feature on AWS Bedrock in production. In production, that means you can buy it today. And the explanation or reverse engineering of a function block, which is a small program, can take up to 3-4 hours. That's simpler. The explanation takes around 40 seconds and costs 50 cents. Compare 3-4 hours, 50 cents. That's the use case we solve for in our company. But again, don't take my word for it. I'd be very happy to hand over to Michaela, which her and her company, we partner since quite some time, and she can shed a bit more light what we jointly have done in the last years. Thank you.
My pleasure to be here today. So I'm working for Henkel. This is a corporate acting in 125 markets on a global level. We are active in 2 big businesses. One is actually industrial. Many people know us for our consumer goods. In beauty and laundry and home care applications, but actually half of our business is in adhesive industrial applications. So we are in every iPhone, we are in every car, we are in space, we are in aviation industry, and we are also in a lot of our packaging. So every chips bag that you open in the evening, the Coke can, those are all our customers. So this brings us to 160 plants worldwide. And in one plant our story began, 2022. That was actually when our laundry site in Düsseldorf was looking for a proper backup solution for their plant. And you have seen those pictures in Joseph's presentation. He kindly didn't disclose that it's actually our plant. But this was our life back then, right? We had those little USB sticks in our plants. Back then, when we did the benchmark, that was actually one of our automation guys who was a master student back then and coming from the TU Munich, and he found SDA. And we engaged in a joint project where we tested their solution in a pilot. And over the course of the past 2 years, we had the privilege to develop their capabilities alongside our requirements, because actually also that picture of a very diverse setup of PLCs could come from our plant. So we have kind of PLC jungle, because we are operating since 147 years. We have plants that are rather old, we have plants that are rather new, and we have a lot of different machine supplies, and according to that also PLCs. So this is what Joseph and his team found when they started to work with us. And after this successful pilot, we then looked a little deeper and thought, okay, what can we do together? And this is where our joint vision started, to make our supply chain and plants more secure and easy to maintain. At Henkel, we have a cloud-first strategy, so we want to bring our OT engineering to the cloud, because this will allow us to centrally manage our PLCs, secure the backup and also the versioning, and then, of course, also allow our third-party machine suppliers to access our PLCs remotely, which is a big advantage. So we have done, in the meantime, a second POC in a plant here in Hannover. And next to the business cases that are already positive on a plant level, there's also a lot that STA can provide to us on a global level. as said, we have that 160 plants that we need to operate. We have global supply chain team that is looking at those plants. So in general, of course, the capability of remote versioning is something that not only for our own supply chain, for those 160 plants, but actually also in our industrial business. This is a competency that our colleagues are building up towards our customers, right? Because there we are providing, in a B2B business environment, the glue, but of course we also want to be there when there is troubles with those applications, or there's adjustment needs in the machineries. So that's for sure one of the big advantages that we see in SDA's capabilities. The second big one is for sure the backup and versioning capabilities. And then last but not least, security. And I mean, we are a German headquartered company, so security is one of our biggest assets that we can provide. So that's where we are, of course, also looking very carefully at the opportunity of providing access rights, not per PLC on an individual base, not only to our internal engineers, but also to those who are coming in from external, who are actually doing the most of the updates of the programs for our PLCs. Exactly, and with that vision in mind, what we are currently doing is a rollout plan to those plans that we're having on a global level. And this will then allow us, of course, to have also global visibility on those different plans, where when we are looking at program updates from security perspective, for example, but also restructuring projects, when we are moving single machines, but also entire production lines from one place to the other, to have visibility on the programs and ensure that those machines can actually be reused at a different location. And the big announcement today is probably not only that we are strongly engaged with SDA on a partnership level because we believe in their solution and probably one of the first customers to adopt their solution on a global level, but we are also one of their investors since today. So this is something that that we believe in when working together with young companies is not only to be very agile and with a partnering mindset, but how we can develop solutions from POC to scaling, but also how can we ensure that those companies are a scalable partner for us. And this is where we love not only to partner, but also to engage with equity. So we're proud to be on board with SDA and looking forward to our joint activities in the future. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you, first of all, for the great insights. And also on this stage, let's say, we as a technology company that really tries to push the boundaries of what's possible, we are incredibly gifted that we have customers like Henkel that really go that route and that journey with us. And what you can see, as Michaela mentioned, all the security topics, this is something that we basically learned more on the way, that by people using the solution in their daily life for backup, you get much more visibility, which is then also interesting for the security folks in the company, and then we manage all the IP, and then we help have more flexibility over the different plans. So there's a lot of additional things, and this is really, I think, the power of this close collaboration. Of course, we are super happy that we can announce the investment today. I'm looking a bit at the time. We might have also time for a couple of questions, but before you go, what to really take away from this talk? Only one thing: if this is how you manage the code that is most important for you in your factory, talk to us. We are here at the booth, and we have our own booth in Hall 9 in F54. Thanks very much for listening, and if there's a question, very happy to answer. Thank you, Michaela.